Welcome to the second segment of Citizens Forum, being filmed on Tuesday, May the 26th. It's the Walter and Jack Show, and Walter, you've got a good one to start off with, kind of an unbelievable headline.
Well, I'll let you read the headline. It's always easier.
Canada helps block plan to rid the world of nukes. Canada helps block plan to rid the world of nukes. Now, if the world was not completely insane, then we would think that Harper would be out of a job within the week, or at least running for cover. And yet, I mean, on what basis do our rulers do these kinds of things without even telling us? And the media too. I mean, here they're telling us after it's done. Like, couldn't you tell us before? Like, you know, yeah. CFAX does 6 hours of sports every night from 6 to midnight, Monday to Friday, when people are home from work. And they don't find time to, you know, kind of spend a few minutes telling us that Canada is about to, what does it say, block?
Well, the thing is that you know, the subtitle of the head of this article was Netanyahu thanks Harper for his role in scuttling the talks. So the Prime Minister of Israel phoned up Prime Minister of Canada and thanked him for helping to scuttle the talks. Now the thing is, why would Israel be that happy about this? Officially, they don't have nuclear weapons, although everybody knows they have nuclear weapons, but Israel's never admitted to it. They've had them since the 60s. And tied up inside of this, of course, is that the UN wanted to have a conference on disarmament. Basically, it was going to be held in the Middle East, and they're going to be talking about ways that countries can start backing out of this, you know, these large arms caches. And what's so interesting is that Israel was so wound up about not wanting this to happen when they officially don't have nuclear weapons. So what are they so concerned?
You saying the United Nations was about?
They wanted to have a conference on disarmament.
And Canada has helped to block that?
That's right, because Canada and the United States, Canada and Britain, if you don't have consensus, by the way, that blocks the conference from going ahead. And Canada and Great Britain stood against having a conference.
And the United States?
Well, the United States, of course, they never wanted.
They don't even have to.
They don't have to go in there, but you know, they just wanted to scuttle the talks. But the thing is,
it's completely insane.
Well, it's sad because, of course, South Africa has nuclear weapons, but never admitted to having nuclear weapons, and Israel has them. Never admitted to having them. Now, Iran is having a nuclear program, and they're refining uranium, and they could perhaps get to a point where they could develop a nuclear weapon. They're claiming they're not going to do it. But the thing is that why is it that Iran can't have one, and South Africa and Israel could have several hundred of them?
And the United States can have several thousand.
Several thousand, who knows how many.
And you know, the amount of just the most toxic poisons that we have created in order to make these nuclear weapons, and we have no way of dealing with. I mean, we should be running as fast as we can away from all of that, and yet these lunatics.
Yeah.
I mean, so here there's a conference, and you know, once again, Canada we're just so much of a failure. We don't even know that's right, that there's a conference.
Well, it's very sad, and the thing is that every time these things happen, Canada's reputation in the world goes down a bit. You know, other countries look at that and really give their head a shake. Why? What is the big problem? Of course, nobody wants to be focusing on Israel and looking at what's happening in the Eastern Mediterranean and the politics. And any type of a conference like this would really cast the limelight on Israel, and that's why they don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I don't think Israel is a big player. I think there are much bigger players in this game who don't want. I mean, the people who rule the world, the people who rule the United States, nuclear weapons are their last fallback position. I mean, these lunatics control enough nuclear power to destroy the planet like 50 times over. And they may be saying at some point in time, if anybody dares to try to take what we've got, which is all the wealth in the world, we're going to blow up the whole place.
Yeah,
and then they do it.
Israel seems to be punching above their weight, don't they?
Yeah.
But, they are doing the bidding of others, no doubt about it.
Netanyahu, I mean, it's just a shame that, I mean, Harper, is there another topic? Have we covered it? Is there more?
Well, I think
Okay.
we can leave that as it is. Maybe we'll talk about this later.
If I don't have my list of topics, my brain is completely empty, and there's
Wow.
nothing there. So what have I got written down? Oh, yeah. So I'm walking down the street a couple of days ago near my house, and there's a guy, probably 75 years old, on one of these motorized scooters, going about 12 miles an hour down a fairly narrow sidewalk in a 300-pound machine, and basically telling everybody to get out of my way. And I thought, it's just one more crazy thing. It's just kind of what happens. There's no enforcement. There's no rules. And the machines are built to go too fast, and they're too big. I mean, they're becoming like motorhomes on the sidewalk. Next they're going to be going with their cell phone. I mean, it's just dangerous. There have to be rules. So I'll say that to the city police and really the bylaw people in the city. There was a big kerfuffle over this in Sydney a year or two ago because people felt endangered. And there's just enough people who do that. Most people, I think, try to do fairly good. But if people don't, then there's got to be, some kind of...
Just yesterday, somebody went whipping down the street in Brentwood Bay, going down a fairly steep hill, one of those scooters. I'm stopped. I see them go whipping on by, and I'm going, that could be a bit hazardous if they had to try to stop very quickly. And they were right down the middle of the road.
The road or the sidewalk?
The road.
Oh, okay.
Right
Yeah.
down the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Now, it's a residential street. There's not a lot happening. But on the other hand, they meet a car, they're going to lose every time.
Yeah. But I'm somebody who's on the sidewalk. If they meet me, I'm going to lose. And that's the problem. Walkers, pedestrians, I mean, we're the lowest form. Nobody cares about us poor pedestrians.
Well, maybe they have to have them licensed, just like everything else.
Well, something. Yeah. I don't know what but it should already be in place, But I did see this week the first actual separated bike path in Victoria.
Yeah.
It's on Cook Street as you go up towards where it meets Quadra. So that was nice.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more bike paths and those types of lanes. And you have to have them because you can encourage cycling. My wife showed me a picture of an article she's reading about the Netherlands, and they had parking stalls for bicycles, and there was hundreds and hundreds of bicycles all parked orderly. Could you imagine how much space that would take if it was cars? I mean, it'll be 10 times as much space.
In terms of climate change, which is, the crazy things that are happening, the forest fires, the floods, the tornadoes in the United States, the whole gamut, the drought in California, the drought in Washington, it's the car more than anything else. We've got to, and we should have clean, comfortable, great, healthful public transit that's pleasant to be on, which, you've been in Europe in the last maybe 10 years. I think they've got it more there than we have here.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You go into the major cities, Paris or London, you couldn't survive without it. And it's fast, it's clean, it's pleasant. you know, who'd want to have a car if you have that type of transportation? It's a lot simpler. You don't have to park and all the overhead of owning a vehicle, especially there. It's much more expensive.
We should have a public transit system that we really want to use, you know, that's all of those things that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And the reason we don't is because the people who run this country are the oil boys and girls and the car boys and girls. And the last thing they want is for us to have good public transit. We are consumers, and that's our job. They won't let us have it. I mean, look at here in Victoria. Look at there's no rail. When we could have it, we should have it. People want it, but they won't let it happen. Shawnigan Lake.
Yeah, what's happening there?
So this week, I've heard on the news on CFAX, they keep repeating over and over that the president of the company that wants to dump, I think it's 5 million tons of toxic waste up above Shawnigan Lake, where it's all going to flow down into Shawnigan Lake. CFAX kept repeating what the president said, which is that the science is sound, suggesting that the science says that this is perfectly acceptable and safe.
Well, what's the problem then, Jack? The science is sound, man. What are you complaining about?
So it was interesting that CFAX kept playing that over and over and over again on the news, basically putting out that message, when the truth is that, I mean, why would Christy Clark, because that's who this basically comes from, say it's okay to put 100,000 tons of whatever waste that anybody has, they can put in this dump now. 5 million, it's 100,000 tons a year for 50 years. Why would Christy Clark do that? I mean, and why do they pretend it's safe?
It's insane, Jack. You can't make any sense out of it, unless maybe there might have something to do with campaign donations. I don't know. Might have to do with payoffs and affiliations. I don't know. But you'd thinking that there'd be such a backlash.
And there has been.
But, the media has not really covered it.
No.
And the suppression, those people are being forced to live with this. By the way, water does run all the way downhill, all the way to Victoria from Shawnigan Lake. So, we're going to all bear the brunt of this crazy idea, much like several others that we've witnessed in the past.
I just got a press release, and unfortunately I can't find the information, but I think it's from the Shawnigan Residents Association, and I think they were saying that there is definitely concern about Souk Lake as well, because it's right next door. Souk Lake is where we get our drinking water from. But in the last segment, Brian Gilbert said water is becoming more and more of an important resource. And I wouldn't put it past the corporations to say, well, then let's destroy that resource and we'll control the rest.
Yeah.
So you start destroying good water. I mean, why else would you put 5 million tons of waste, whatever it is, above Shawnigan Lake? And why would you allow fracking, which uses up huge amounts of our good water, in order to inject it into the ground and poison it? It's almost as if they're trying to create the next market,
There's not too much of a downside if you destroy the environment. There's no downside for corporations, whether they really want to destroy it. Like the Imperial Mines disaster. What was that? 25 cubic kilometers of toxic waste flowed down into the water system. Did anybody go to jail for that, Jack? Or anybody pay a fine or anything? Nothing happened. There's no downside to it, so they can do whatever they want. Oh, the science was very sound, by the way, when they built that dam. It was very sound.
No, you're absolutely right. Nobody's gone to jail.
Well, there's not enough downside. So do they really plan on destroying the environment? I don't think it's really that big a deal for them. It's just...
They just don't care.
Whatever, Oh, by the way, if you do destroy the environment, they make a little more money, so that's okay. you know.
Yeah, so this is why we need a little bit of democracy in this country, because as long as our politicians are controlled by undemocratic forces, namely the 1% of the 1%, these kinds of things are going to keep happening. And it's gotten to the point where there's really nowhere left to hide from them anymore.
Well, you know, I was just thinking about the sewage treatment situation and trying to figure out the structure, the governance of how this is being brought upon us. And we have 3 levels of government. We have by the way, the citizens don't have a prayer, because you have 3 levels of government all doing the bidding for corporations. And they all got a piece of the action. And you have the federal government, you have the provincial government, and then you have the CRD. It's hard to say who's the worst of the crowd, but there's nobody there for us. The people that are in the CRD that get appointed from local city councils are not accountable to us, Jack. And what they do is not transparent. They got caught with trying to build that huge treatment plant. And I think we brought up several times that the mayor and council of Esquimalt saved us from that crazy idea, but they're still there. They haven't really gone away. There's no real accountability. You can't get rid of them. We're stuck. And almost every issue you talk about, like the Shawnigan Lake pollution or the Mount Polley, disaster, there's no accountability. They just go ahead and do it. The corporate media don't tell us about it. And it's just we're supposed to forget about it when it fails. Maybe with the sewage treatment, we got a chance.
Well, that's it. Maybe we got a chance, I mean,
grasping at straws, maybe we're going to.
And I honestly feel that maybe we do, and we're going to see.
Yeah.
We're going to see, literally within the next several months.
Well, the other thing I'd like to bring up is that I mentioned last couple of weeks ago that CTerra was costing the taxpayers of this region $500,000 a month.
Yes.
That's $6 million for this year. But I got thinking, it's a bargain at $500,000 a month. They were costing us $1 million a month before that. Yeah, they cost us $60 million over 5 years. Do some quick math. Oh, by the way, nothing's been built. Nothing's happened. We could be just burning $100 bills and tossing them. I don't think you could burn them as fast as we're spending them. So, I mean, this is what we're dealing with, Jack. It's that to me is a real deadline with the sewage treatment situation. This other thing about the funding could be withheld and all that. I looked into that, Jack. I can't see anything into that. Nothing that a letter couldn't solve.
So what you're saying is that the whole argument that we have to move ahead more quickly because of the funding concern is incorrect.
It's fabrication.
Okay,
yeah, because they haven't really tried anything else.
So then we should remember, as this sewage process moves along, that if several months from now we're being told that we can't wait, we have to make decisions, we should keep in mind what you've just said.
Yeah, maybe the evidence could be brought forward, but sure. Obviously there's deadlines, but nobody's really tried to convince them to hold off a bit. We're trying to work this out. No, they're holding this over our head. This is a public relations ploy. It's BS, Jack. It's shameful that the people that are involved in trying to get this back on track, it's shameful that they say that. They shouldn't give in to that PR nonsense. We're trying to get back on track here. Forget about this deadline business. That's just the oldest trick in the book.
So let's build the best possible system for this city that we can. Yeah.
Now, I think Mayor Desjardins said exactly that she thinks that the different levels of government want the best thing to happen here, and I'm sure that they could find a way to accommodate us.
So then, as this moves ahead, we've got to hope that our elected representatives are doing the best.
That's right.
We've got to keep an eye on the process as it moves along.
We really have to put pressure. We don't have, there's nobody there really speaking for the citizens. We have different groups going there, acting with their agenda, with their own set of priorities, and there's nobody there really speaking for the citizens. And unfortunately, the CRD is not doing the job. We've seen it. We see what happened. So we can't turn to them and say, oh, well, you guys are all going to change now. It's just not, that's not going to happen. We're stuck with this really crummy system that's going on right now. And I think citizens have to demand a better deal. And I really think the CETERA group should step aside, stop writing those bills. The province has to give us a break here. You know, it's just craziness that they're allowing us to be billed like that, month in, year out, for nothing. You know, it just doesn't make any sense.
Walter, thank you for that good kind of tirade.
I'm glad I got that off my chest.
Yeah. And yet, I think you and I would both agree we have some hope.
Yeah.
There are some good people. There are good people in there, and I'm willing to let bygones be bygones. If people start, I don't want my system to get built. I want a system that is good and built in an honest way. Just not do what's best for us, that's all.
Yeah, I think the people involved are sort of in a place where they're trying to work with the old group and trying to figure out something new. May not be their place to really harshly criticize that group, but nothing's holding us back. The citizens should be stepping up here and demanding something better.
We're out of time. Thank you, Walter.
Pleasure, Jack.
And thanks for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.
Thank you.